nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I appreciate your flexibility as we're getting a little bit of a late start this evening. I'm going to quickly identify Tom Solon as our meeting observer this evening, and we're going to bypass the approval of minutes right now, and I'd like to kind of reorder the agenda a little bit because of some individual items that have come up for members of the district that might affect attendance later in the meeting. So I would like to move up the budget overview and preliminary guidance discussion up on the agenda. We'll move monthly results down after that discussion. And Tony had asked for a little time just to speak about his participation on the Hollis Capital Advisory Committee and give us an update about that. So we'll make those adjustments and dive right into things. So I'd first like to start with a quick discussion about the calendar. I'm still waiting for the view for where we ended up. This was the view that was disseminated, and after much discussion, I think the co-op is landing in the same place that it started. So that would mean that our school district meeting is March 17th and are in the first column, and our public hearing would be a month prior on February 17th. So for right now, I would recommend we use those as placeholders. There is a lot of coordination that takes place between Hollis, the co-op. Brookline's calendar is pushed ahead because it's an SB2 community, and their deadlines are different for their deliberative session, and their voting takes place on the day of actual ballot voting in their community, so their parameters are slightly different. So it really is just a Hollis co-op thing. But I will look to Lance. It looks like he might have some more up-to-date information.
Those two dates you mentioned are accurate. I don't see them changing without unforeseen circumstances. We just received an updated copy back from the attorney this afternoon. So,
oh, great.
Superintendent and I will review it and get that out, but
awesome.
Those two dates have not changed to this version.
Great. So yes, there was some discussion back and forth about preference. We've had we have a standing agreement when before Brookline went SB2 of which community would go first and things like that, and I don't want to tax the legislative body who has to come and attend these evening meetings, and everybody's schedules of the leadership team of the district and whatnot. So there is a lot of back and forth, and of course the RSA specified parameters that drive dates, deadlines, posting notices, and things like that. So I'm happy to hear we'll be at February 17th and March 17th until further notice, and as soon as Lance forwards the updated calendar, I'll make sure that everybody gets that. Okay, great. Moving on to assumptions, priorities, goals, and the preliminary budget overview. So I did share with everyone the budget trend file, which is really kind of our guiding document through our budget process. The view that you have is basically last year's view because it needs updating on a detailed basis, FY25 actuals, and then the final FY26 budget. I think I have it, and I updated it based on what was passed and approved at the March meeting, but it hasn't been confirmed by the business office, because what happened at the March meeting, if you'll recall, we went into March meeting with a higher budget and 2 bond initiatives, and pending the outcome of those bond initiatives, we would have made an adjustment to the budget. So those two initiatives passed, and when we got to the operating budget for discussion, we made an immediate motion to lower the budget, because what we were trying to do is make sure certain mandated repairs would have been funded, and the bonds themselves included the repairs and some additional work for the schools. So the bonds did pass, we made the adjustment, and the adjustment was a very simple one in the new additions, and I just, for the view that I have, removed it from there. But this view, when it's finalized by the business office, moves some of those new addition items back into the actual budget lines where they belong and things like that, and I haven't done that.
And that's
So-
based on the school board voting to do that?
No, the legislative body voted to remove the 915.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We went into the budget.
I remember the actions on that.
Yeah, we had to go in with a higher than normal budget. Everybody, guidance was met and all of that, and we were very clear in our understanding that the budget was going to be high, because if the bonds failed, there was still almost $1 million of necessary expenses. So once the bonds passed, we took the $915,000 immediately out of the budget. But I did want everybody to have a view, and just as a frame of reference of the format of our file, which is a composite budget trend file in a view we've been using for a very long time, probably more than 10 years. So there's a lot of history included in the view. There's a superintendent's view, which is a little bit more of a overall listing in a way, and really is the way the school board reviews the budget when they see have their review of the budget, and includes a nice summary at the bottom of what additional warrant articles are going to be added and things like that. There's a new item summary that takes round by round by expense category, what items are going to be brought forward. But again, the ones that are in this file are all from last year. It is not new information for FY27. And it goes back to, like there's a superintendent's view 4.0, superintendent's view 3.0, and just to kind of work through the rounds of the budget.
But there should be an updated version of this
There
file by
will
the
be,
next meeting.
yes, by the next meeting, I expect we will have a complete view of the budget, with the budget trend file completed, the superintendent's view, the new items view. And as the additional sheets include athletics, revenue, and the CIP. And way far back in the list of sheets is a lot of old history information that I just keep there because it goes back pretty far. And just old ways we tracked and looked at data, but it really is like back to single digits, like 2000s. It's a source of kind of all of that information. We just kind of have it, and it's just kind of sitting there.
A question for you, is this independent of the superintendent's budget work?
It's linked to it.
The reason I say it says round 1.
Yep.
And I think they're on like round 3 already.
Oh, I'm sure they are. This is last year's budget.
Oh,
Nothing about this is for FY20. Well, this is the current year's budget. Nothing about this is related to FY27.
oh, okay.
She's
So-
just explaining the process.
It's
Right.
every aspect of it will be updated.
So when it says COOP by COM budget FY27,
I'm gonna get to that in a minute.
okay.
So, but all of from budget trend out and all of those other sheets all require updating for FY27. So there's a column in there on the budget trend sheet, that's for FY25 actuals. I would expect FY26 budget final to be updated, again, because that new additions at the bottom of the file, there's 819,000 in new additions, and probably that's about it. That'll be disseminated into lines above it, but for right now, it's because if you notice in prior years, that number becomes 0 because once they're approved, they're not new anymore, and they get placed throughout the budget. So column AQ will be updated, column AU will be updated, and column AV would represent the most recent round of the budget. They might be up to version 4 by the time that we see it, and that's great. I'm glad your process is underway, which is awesome. But going back to the first sheet in the workbook is our guidance.
So the thing says multiplier calculator?
Yes. So
You wanna explain how the 3.3 came about?
I am.
You can try. It's hard to, it's really small.
So what we do in establishing preliminary guidance is work through and determine where we think, how we think the budget should be increased or changed. So we start with the budget for the current year. We reduce it by several items, which I'll talk about in a little bit, that I'll just say adjust the budget to arrive in what we call a guidance base, which is like an adjusted budget. So what we basically do is take out the elements that would not be affected by CPI, because we use CPI as a guiding indicator of how to assess preliminary guidance. So the things that we remove and to get to the guidance base are things that are going to move in their own way up or down regardless of CPI. So those items are things we call transfers, which are the food service and grant related, federal and state related funding. Those are outside. They on the levels of those programs and things. Food service is a self-funded program. The spending on grants is directly related to the level of which we're approved, so it's not affected by CPI. The contingency and trust funds, they're separately identified and voted on and approved, again, not affected by CPI. Our debt service has a very clear debt schedule. The changes year over year are not affected by economic indicators. It's already a predetermined schedule. We remove special ed because there is so much that can change on an annual basis with special education that really applying a CPI to it isn't the most appropriate way to address the changes in special education. So we remove those out, and we like to have a kind of just understand what the special education picture is going to look like in the upcoming year to make a determination of how to kind of move forward with where the special education level should be. The SAU budget allocation is determined by a separate process, so not affected by CPI. And the New Hampshire retirement system rates are set in 2-year increments, so we know what the rates are for the upcoming year. They will not change because of CPI, but for our FY28 budget, we will have a different rate assigned for NHRS, and we'll evaluate what the costs are for that at that time. So those are the items and those are the values for FY26 that this view basically removes from the budget to come up with a guidance base. And we go one step further after that to say, okay, what of the amount of money that's left, how much of that is salaries related to collectively bargained agreements? Though any collectively bargained agreement is going to have a predetermined increase that might be above or below CPI, and so that amount is it's able to be calculated, and again, doesn't need an additional CPI factor added to it.
If it's standardized, can that be just like the other items excluded from the?
Yep. Mm-hmm. So
From
the whole amount of
from the
that
budget,
of those collectively bargained items comes out of the guidance base.
Okay.
So what we're then left with is taking.
Just using your example, just to make sure I understand.
Yep.
So you determined that 45% of it was the salary component, and then you multiplied 45% times the 3.3%, and got the 1.81%.
We actually take the opposite. It's actually 55% of the budget. Right, because we're
Okay, so
taking.
you take the complement.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're taking the
So
complement.
the
remaining
1.81 is what's left for multiplier available. Got it.
That gets multiplied back to, the base budget. And in this case, the 3.3 is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics for the Northeast region as of October. I really feel like September is coming out any day now, but August was all that was available, so I used 3.3%.
But that could change over the next few months as we deliberate this.
It could, but once we set guidance, we pretty much stay with that number unless it was going to be some significant change or we were aware of some significant, thing we were thinking would happen.
So this approach with the CPI has been used for 10 years before. We've always used this.
We've
now.
always used this approach.
This
Yeah.
approach.
So what this basically means is from the whole, 32.1 million that we're starting with, we're really adding back in an adjustment of $370,000, which really isn't a lot when you think about it. So,
And that represents,
the CPI a CPI adjustment.
that's 1.81 of the
It-
adjusted amount or the original amount?
It's taking,
It's 1.81 of the prior year guidance base, the 2399?
yes,
Okay. Just for yucks, did you calculate what that percentage is on the overall budget?
sure.
I said, did you?
No, but
Okay.
I can very easily.
I can do it too, but if you're volunteering.
1.2%.
So 3.3 times 55% is equivalent to 1.2% times the total. Is that what?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then we add back in all the things that we knew, that are going to be new to the budget, that are in the FY27 budget, kind of that we took out.
But
So-
you add them in at the
FY
projected rate.
Yes. Right now, I don't have the projected rate. So
Projected are already known. I mean, the San Bernardino's contract was already
So-
known, right?
Well,
1 second.
not necessarily.
Everybody, hold on.
The rate is known, but the number isn't because we have to predict what the staffing is gonna be.
Right. Okay.
Hold on, everybody. So what we are adding back in is transfers. Right now, I left them at the same level that they were at. Debt service, we do know. We have the debt schedules, and based on the information I have, the 1.156627 it should be pretty close to what we're including. There might be some differences like lease payments on some other items, but that should be pretty close because moving from the first year to the second year of the bonds that passed, when they first passed, we're paying a very small amount of interest with the first payment, and as we move to the next year, it's the full year of principal and interest payment, so it's more money.
Right.
And that's specifically talking about the facilities and solar, the HVAC and solar bonds.
Exactly.
So that accounts for the difference from the
Yes.
600 change to
Yep.
the,
Yes, and
Almost double.
anything else, and that's, I have the amounts, really, it's the change between the two, because the rest of the debt service, the payments were flat because they were, I think, approved municipal leases, but anyway, I have the debt schedule, I added up, and that's what the debt schedules look like. And I believe, I'm going to co-op debt, long-term financing. Okay, in the absence of having an updated budget view, I added back in the special education level that we had budgeted for this current year. When we finished FY25, special education costs were down, but I have no information at this time without having a budget view that would, lead me to know if that's gonna be true for this current year or moving forward, so I really just added that back in. and did the same thing, I think, for.
So it is
Yep.
possible that the final actual number might be less than what?
It's
estimating at.
potential that the view that we
Right.
see is less or more. It just, special education is so dependent on the mix of students, which can change dramatically from a year ago when this year's budget was developed,
Yeah,
so.
a single student or two moving in or out of the district, whether they're aging up or aging out, can,
Be
on this,
significant.
on this level,
Mhm.
change it huge.
I added back in, it's the third year of the Sanbornized, HEA agreement. The amount that's represented there is the amount that was stipulated,
Third year?
isn't it?
Thought it was second.
In year two, so FY '27 will be
Would
year
be the
three.
third year.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I put in the third year from the warrant article. So from the time that the warrant article is put together to the time where we are now, there has been attrition of staff, there has been change to rates and NHRS rates that couldn't have been determined at that time. We just typically know that that's the approved amount. It's the number that we can go by to add back in. It's what was recognized by the legislative body and approved. So those are our, kind of foundational elements, right? And then the next section is that amounts outside of guidance or guidance relief items. So these would have been in the past things like the costs related to the mandated repairs. If we hadn't approved those bonds, it was something we considered as a budget committee. We were like, look, this has to get done. So the $900,000 was going to be, outside of guidance at that time. I'm at this point, again, because we don't have the view, I'm not aware of any items other than the potential that the increase in insurance rates might have on the district. So, Lance, I believe the district has the 15.1% increase on the driver plan, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And then it's like 10%?
10.4%.
On the other plan, but most people are on the driver plan, but what I did in
Those
this.
are healthcare insurance.
The healthcare
I
insurance.
thought we
medical
didn't have
insurance.
anyone on the other plan anymore.
I'd have to look back at the co-op specifically. It's a little bit different in all the districts, and we've been looking at
I thought we
a handful of them, but.
had one person on, and I thought
Okay.
that was gone, but it may not.
So what I did for right now was just put in 12% because I wasn't sure of the distribution, but if we're pretty confident that everyone's on the driver plan, I'll increase that to 15%. It doesn't change it. Well, it did kind of change it a little bit dramatically there.
But the other thing to keep in mind is
15%.
we don't pay more than what the driver plan would entitle them to. So even on another plan, if the plan cost more, we would cap it at the cost of the driver plan.
But your,
It's
You
the
gave
other
away-
plan is a higher priced plan.
I understand, but I thought we wait a minute. We don't have dollar caps anymore in the district, do we?
No.
We don't have dollar caps, no. We have the driver plan, which effectively caps the amount that's paid.
But our contribution will still increase, and that cap increases because we're percentage based.
I think what Tom is referencing, if somebody was on the other plan.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
then
if someone was on the
it
other
So
wouldn't
plan.
my
be
point
impacted.
is, by using the driver plan increase, that effectively becomes the increase to the other plan as well. Because it drives up the dollar.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, you're moving the
Mhm.
threshold higher.
So we're effectively paying the driver plan premium for all plans regardless of what they've chosen. Does that make sense?
yes, okay. Okay, so I'll go with the 15% increase on the rates then instead of the 12 that I had in there. And that would yield, once all of those things get added back in, an operating budget total of
Is that
big,
percentage available to me here right now? Is it shown?
yeah,
Where is it?
wait, are you on the spreadsheet?
Yeah.
You can just go into the cell.
Which cell?
B 34.
Oh, so do you pull it out of C or do you embed it in B?
It's embedded in B. The way
Okay.
it's written now, it's embedded in B.
So what number should that 12 be?
Instead of .12, it should be .15. And your number should change to 485,394.
Got it, thank you.
So that would get us to an operating budget total of 32.4 million. And let me just see, yep. And so what I did, again, because I don't know where the operating budget's going to be, I just took the last superintendent's view, less the 915,000 to get to a revised operating budget, and well, you know what, let me put my parentheses in here, because I'm not sure if that calculated correctly. Yeah, you're gonna have to change, B 37, Tom. So everyone who's looking, if you go into B 37, the parentheses mattered, and if you can put parentheses right up, right after the equal sign and after the 915,000,
After the equal sign,
after the equal sign,
before the plus?
yep, and after the last zero in 915,000.
Before or after the asterisk?
Before the asterisk. And you should get 31,152,790. So that's my best guess as to what your
Was
budget's
31?
gonna be.
30,
On the operating budget, only on the operating budget, 31.1, so we'll see.
Can
so
you
the, so the,
get-
the 32.4 was what?
The 32.4 was our view of the operating budget with absolutely no information at my disposal.
A total wag.
Just total, let's just see.
Okay. The 31.
We'll see if they're gonna come in at 31.1 or 31.2.
And
I don't know.
What
And
was that 915,000 that you took?
that was the anticipated cost of doing the repairs if we didn't pass the
propane
bond.
system. Now, the 31.1 was what?
That's my best guess at an operating budget request, but I'm missing a lot of information, and we've never been at the first pass $1 million below for the district being that far under guidance. They have come in under guidance, not quite that far though. So we'll
So
see.
the district came in at 31.1
No,
as a-
it-
No, no,
She's
no.
We haven't come in yet.
She's potentially predicting it
Yeah,
based on
it's a crystal
a lot
ball.
of
Yes,
assumptions.
it's an absolute, just to put a number there.
So you feel the number is going to be somewhere between 31.1 and 32.4?
It'd be great if
It's
the
gonna be
number
somewhere
was
between
close to 30.
31.1
If
and
it was close to
35.
32.4, that would be great.
So how does that compare to last year's budget
Oh, you're
under the
asking.
same terms?
Well, last year it was what, 32,162,808 according to the bottom?
Last year, our operating budget was,
Is it line 48 or 50?
hold on. Superintendent's view, G697. Superintendent's view, 697.
Yeah, it's line 2.
It was this minus 915,000. It was 30,245,000.
So what's the 32,162,808 that you say is the FY26 budget?
That's the whole budget.
So what?
Okay, when we're doing guidance, we're only doing it on the operating budget. The entire budget includes things like additional warrant articles.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not counting that now.
No.
So it's 30 million and change?
So it was 30.2 million, so our view. Oh, that's big. That's a 7% increase. From last year's operating budget, which we've never actually.
7%?
From last year's operating budget, yes. But we've never actually done that. We've never done that kind of comparison before, but okay.
when you're done.
But I don't have, but I'm missing two significant parts, and that's NHRS that is, so there are some double counts in there on NHRS because the San Bernard's HEA agreement already included NHRS calculated on that amount of money, on about $400,000, or somewhere around $400,000, and I don't know what the NHRS amount is. So some of the amounts in here are higher than what, I think NHRS is gonna be higher than what it's gonna be, and I think there are so many moving parts. So I really can't say there is a rate change going into this year and a known double count, because I know that San Bernard's HEA agreement includes some NHRS cost related to the additional amount. And I have no idea where special education is going to be.
So it seems to me that we're really not ready, and we can't agree or at least come with an initial guidance.
That's what's up for discussion tonight.
And I think that at least we have an efficient process. Nobody's arguing about the process. It's just a matter of obtaining the actual numbers. And I think we can delay making that decision till the next meeting. The other thing, that will give us time to also do the example calculation if we assume actuals as
So
a
that's the
starting
next
point,
part. So
which
that's-
we've done before.
Yes, that's the next part of the
Right,
conversation. Everyone is jumping all over the
No,
place
just a
tonight.
question. I divided your hypothetical
Yep.
requested operating budget by 30.2.
Yep.
I only come up with a 3% increase. Now, did you use the 32.4?
I used 32.4. 32.
Okay, so that's the guidance. The
Yeah.
guidance suggests a 7%.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The other one would be,
Roughly
I
2
mean, it's
million
another
over
million,
30,
so
over
yeah.
30
It'd be
million is
1.3.
Yeah, it's
roughly
gonna be-
between
it's all-
6 and
it's-
7
yes.
percent.
yes. And again, just not knowing where, really having no direction on where, special education is a significant driver of the budget, and NHRS is, it's a solid amount of money, so let me just finish one thing. So the operating budget is the amount that we would be determining preliminary guidance on, and the amount that goes actually on, once we kind of work through things and finalize numbers and things like that, is the operating budget that goes into a warrant article. And then every other piece of the warrant, every other article, are the things that are saying add amounts of additional articles to get to a total budget. So the things that are just kind of listed there would be, if we were collective doing a CBA negotiation for the professional staff, which we are not doing, so that'll absolutely be zero. HESA, the support staff contract, we're not negotiating, but we're in the, second year of the contract, I think.
I think so.
Yes.
It lined up
It
with.
should be the same, unfortunately, the same as the professional staff, because we did.
Oh, you did them at the same time? But
You extended it 1 year.
Extended it a year when they made that change.
HESA is never San Bernardized, though. We always
Right.
bring that forward on an annual basis. So, again, I put in $85,000 as the placeholder.
Wouldn't it
I
be
think
easier for you if it was standardized?
it's not San Bernardized this time around, and so I'm not. I just don't know if I don't
That's
recall.
a separate discussion.
I don't know where that calculation, what amount is going to be put in the warrant article for the HESA contract. So I would be relying on the business office for that. I have a placeholder of $300,000 for the expendable trust. Again, that's more from experience than any projects or new items that are guiding our decision-making here. We typically have a $125,000 contingency. I believe our special education trust fund is fully funded, and there'll be an assessment for the SAU budget, which we'll talk about the SAU budget in a few minutes. But what I did to arrive at that number was basically took the amount that we had in last year, and I overlaid the increase of the entire budget. It is not the official number. It has, the apportionment formula hasn't been done yet on the budget because that budget is still kind of working its way through. It's really just a placeholder, and I felt good about the assumption that if the budget's going up by X%, then so too will our allocation. So that's how those numbers were derived. I don't know if there will be any other projects, programs, or anything that's going to be brought forward. So it really was just, my shot at kind of putting in placeholders and just kind of filling in blanks at this point.
Is that based on prior years?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So
Subject
it's-
matter expertise and prior year
Yeah,
historical data.
That's probably as good as
So-
anything.
So that gets us through, that first column, column B, is really just kind of how we've just done things. What we've, for close to 10 years, that's been our kind of guidance model that we've used. It's a consistent approach that the Hollis Budget Committee uses when they look at their budgets, and we've consistently applied this approach. Probably 4 or 5 years ago, I added column E, which is, I'm calling that the calculated FY27, and that's the view that's going to be based on FY25 actuals, so where we finished in June of this year, adjusted for things we know got approved at the district meeting, and all of the other puts and takes that go along with it. And what that view has proven to us over, say, the last 3 or 4 years is that they come really close. And what we've determined over the last 3 or 4 years is that any difference calculated between the two was marginal, and we defaulted back to the original way that we've approached it, we've been doing things. Without the FY26 detailed view, again, I'm not comfortable with where that calculated view is right now. So tonight's meeting is coming with a lot of placeholders and a lot of need for scrubbing data and better information. But I wanted us, because our approach has always been, we set preliminary guidance in October. I wanted us to have something to look at and talk about and make a determination if it's really better, in this case, for us to move forward to November. We'll just have better information.
What do you want communicated to the school board?
I'm waiting to hear from the other budget committee members first before I answer that question.
Okay.
So Raul has proposed waiting until November. And so I just like to hear from Melanie and Tony to see if, and again, the number is preliminary and it can change.
I mean, this is better than it's not a wild guess, it's a pretty good educated guess, and I don't think it can be that far off. I'm okay with waiting and having it more precise, that's,
Okay.
Yeah, there's no downside to waiting, right? Or is there?
There is.
There is downside.
Well,
Tell me.
the advantage we have in putting forward preliminary guidance in October, which is why we've always done it, is to give directional information to the board, to the business office and the board. Again, lacking information, we could look at a recalculation of NHRS and
Let's do it like an engineer. Put a tolerance on it. Plus or minus what percent?
My perspective
very
is,
little.
there is a psychological difference between roughly 2 to 3%, which is based on the 31.1 number, and 7%, which is based on the 32.4. And I don't want the public, that are people that are listening to us, to get a run with it. There's a certain amount of
But
all the
that-
numbers that haven't
yeah.
been finalized. There's not much confidence in the numbers right now. There's a lot of confidence in the process. I don't want the public to start running around thinking that the budget guidance is 7% higher, and all of a sudden there's going to be confusion or perhaps misinterpretation of what's really going on. So
But that
I feel more
31
comfortable waiting.
that 31 has no direct bearing on guidance.
no, Raul's comparing it to where our operating budget was last year.
That was 30.2.
Yeah.
He said 31.4 point
What
two.
did you say?
Yeah, you gave a number of 31.1. You
Well, that- yeah-
basically said the range based on all
That
your
is an, well,
assumptions.
this is
There
the
you go.
problem
There were
with
two
putting
numbers.
these numbers out. It is an absolute, I have absolutely nothing to tell me that that's what it's going to be.
That's a number that she, as a placeholder for what what the budget, what the administration will come to with a request. It's got,
That's as good an input as any.
but it's a placeholder. She could have put in 5 and it would be as equally as accurate.
Well, I don't know about that.
I do.
It really has I have no idea.
The question is whether this 32.431878 number is useful at this point in time as a starting point for guidance from this committee. And what I'm saying is, if you have concerns about it being premature, is there any way to put some limits on how much you think it might
How much,
vary?
like-
Will it vary by 2%? Will it vary by 1%? So for instance, do you think that with all the possible changes that are yet to come, is it likely to exceed 33? Is it likely to be less than 32? If not, then you're talking a variance of about 0.6%. So that would say you're talking somewhere between 6 and 8%. If you think it could go up to, say, 35, or you might drop as low as 30, then you're talking a much bigger range of variance. I think it would be nice to have the information as early as possible to, if you really want it to function as guidance, as opposed to just a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I personally feel uncomfortable proceeding with a number tonight.
Okay. Melanie?
Yeah, I can see both sides of it. I think having more information makes us look more credible. I like that idea. I know they need, the sooner they get this, the better, but let's have it be, good, solid information.
Right. Okay, and
So I
it,
would wait.
okay, and in that case, waiting until November, we would be, because we'll have a lot more information at that time, and I'll tell you the other pieces that we'll have in addition to the budget. That November number would not be a preliminary number, it would be guidance. So just letting everybody know that. What October does is let us say, oh, it's preliminary, let's look at some more things, let's get some better information, and then and if need be, we can make some, adjustments in November. I will say for the last few years, we've never had to readdress, we've always been in a good place, but I don't wanna be so like, we have just always done this and this is what we're doing. I really do kind of just also feel like I don't want to make assumptions and put something out there that just isn't really it's grounded on so much old information and not current and the best information that we have. So I would be, and also we do have a smaller subset of the budget committee available too. I do like to have, as we're putting guidance forward, as many members present as possible so that many members can give their perspective and input and ask questions, as opposed to 4 out of 7. We're missing
Can I have
a
a
fair
question?
chunk of the committee. So
Prior to next meeting, is it okay to exchange information among us without necessarily taking votes?
no.
No. So it cannot be
I'm not sure what type of information.
It can be one
Like-
way, I
Would
mean.
be available.
Like on some parameters, if we got parameter
Well,
values of some kind.
if we got, received, so here are the list of things we're gonna see in November. We're going to get the NESDEC enrollment numbers. We will know, we'll get the adequacy estimate for the upcoming year. We'll know, we know this right now, but I haven't looked it up. We'll know what the statewide, this is part of adequacy, is knowing the statewide education property tax and what piece of it, our communities are gonna be responsible for. We will have, what else will we have? Well, obviously, we'll have the budget view and
Will you get the SAU?
we will, yes, we will know, we have a good view of the SAU budget. I will share that with you, but we'll be, by the end of November, we'll be one step closer because right after our November meeting, the final budget will be going to the governing board for public hearing and review and approval. So we'll have that finalized. And I would say over the next month, the business office and the board would have a very clear view of additional initiatives and things that they're considering, unless right now you have that view of anything you could share, like are you anticipating there to be, bonds, leases, other warrant articles for other than the things that we typically put forward?
Hasn't been
That's a lot.
anything specifically brought up, has there?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't want to speak out of turn, but no big items that are on my radar.
I mean, I don't think there's anything that isn't already on the radar.
Mm-hmm.
Is the NHRS number pretty firm that's in here now?
No.
What's keeping it from being so?
That number was calculated on last year's salaries. Or this current year's salaries, not on next year's salaries.
Is that just the amount of time you had to do it?
I don't calculate that.
Who does?
Business
Mr.
office.
Palomino. He will put together an estimate of salaries for FY27 and assign FICA and New Hampshire retirement to that and come up with a new amount.
Is there anything other than time that has prevented that from being available yet?
Time and knowing it, so kind of seeing the guidance document when it came
Well,
out.
in terms of salaries and benefits, none of that comes out of guidance.
Knowing that it needed to be available for this, so the information is there.
So-
yeah, we just need to pull. So no, we're not waiting on anything to get that specific piece.
So
of
I'll say,
information.
so what we've had in the past was that full view, that I don't even know, it's 800 and something like, we've had that full view. I look at a spreadsheet and I'm like, okay, I can pull NHRS off of that and see.
You don't have that yet?
No, those are that first view is the view that I don't have.
Okay.
So we can still do that and wait until November, and we'll have, I would say by the end of November, we will have a very firm view from the business office of where the budget is.
But there are elements that are not discretionary within that. And a very large one, almost 50% of it, is salary and benefits.
Yes.
And I'm just surprised that that's not already in your hands.
I know I have the placeholder, I have the placeholder in the amount for NHRS that was in 26.
Did you bump that by
The only thing it's bumped by is adding in the Samburnized HEA amount from the contract from 2 years ago.
So it's 2 point something percent. Because
So
our salary table is structured with a fixed percent rate,
Yep.
step to step.
Yep.
Did you bump, is that what you factored in?
I took the dollar amount that was in the warrant. I don't.
Of for when it was predicted for each of the 3 years?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's
That-
obsolete because of the
Yes.
amount of turnover we've had.
Yes.
But if we were to take the current payroll and bump that by the contractual increase that's that's in all our step tables.
So this is why I rely on the calculation from the business office, because aside from that, they know about lane changes, they know which are what happens when teachers
Yeah, I understand,
accumulate
yeah.
things, that's not calculated. So I don't wanna make an assumption of what the number is. So if, with a preliminary budget view, I can take the actual calculation that you're calculating and take it, take it in and out, and I know that that's a number you have confidence in because it's been calculated.
I'm just
The
concerned that you
census
don't
is-
have that already, because
The census has moved, the staff has moved, the census is there, and all of those things. Those are two other things we'll have, the census of the current staff and the insurance census to just see who's on what plan and
Yeah.
things like that. So,
yeah, that
biggest
needs to
variable
get out ASAP.
And that is,
And that is in our preliminary budget.
fully
We have
staffed?
those numbers, I just didn't know they needed to be here.
Do you have them with you now?
Not that I can pull up right now.
question is, are we fully staffed? If the answer is yes, then that gives us a good idea
So-
for next year moving up.
yeah, so
Or
that, and that,
who's retiring, and that would leave a gap.
Yeah, we have all
yep,
that
and that's
information.
all,
Right,
that,
so-
all of that information is housed within
Right.
the business office. They know exactly where people are, they can move them up a step
Now,
as necessary.
Lance is saying that
Yep.
number has actually already been calculated. He just hasn't given it to them because he didn't know they needed it. So we got a communication problem.
I think that,
So-
listening to this, there's no reason not to wait and be more correct.
Yeah, and I think we'll just have everybody will have a lot more information, in November. And I think then everybody can feel good about where the process is. I don't feel good about me saying, I kinda use this as a placeholder, I'm at, and I'm.
No, it's fine, it's fine. How does NESDEC enrollment play into your guidance?
It gives us, it doesn't necessarily, well, it plays into guidance because if we see a big drop in a big drop in enrollment change or conversely a big increase, we'll ask questions like, are you anticipating needing more staff? Are you anticipating needing less staff, fewer, members? If you have consumable materials and things that you purchase on a per student basis and your student counts are going higher or lower, then those costs are gonna go higher and lower and, things like that. So it's just another indicator for us to, it isn't as direct of an impact as it would be at, say, the primary school level, where you're actually counting teachers and, 22 to 24 kids per class. I know that it's different at the middle and high school levels, and it really isn't a one-for-one. You got rid of 25 students down, we can get rid of a head count. We all know that that's not how it works, but it does just give us some guidance of if we're starting to see a trend, or when we can anticipate some of those higher numbers that we're seeing at the lower schools moving up and aging up into the middle school and high school. Because right now I would say, I think the numbers, I don't think we're seeing the increases here that the lower schools are seeing and anticipating. And so it's gonna, the wave needs to come through. But that's what, NESDEC is good for, in my experience, identifying a trend more so than the hard number. But what it also does help with is the Hollis Brookline distribution of students, which contributes to the apportionment formula. And so if I see a dramatic shift in the head count, then I know there'll be a dramatic shift in how apportionment would work. So it helps in that regard as well. Did I say tax rates will be set, tax rates will be finalized?
Right.
That kind of information we incorporate into a tax model that we have, so there's just a lot of information that comes literally within the next couple of weeks.
Does the ongoing activity in Concord to move costs from the state to the local districts in any way affect us, or does that happen only at the tax burden side of things doesn't really directly affect the budget?
It's not affecting anything now. Adequacy is the next piece of information we get from the state is gonna be adequacy, and that's the key driver to the revenue side of things. The rates are already set to increase by there are several categories to the adequacy aid, and the rates are set to increase 2%. And that's then what we get as a district is then decided by average daily membership and the counts that are based on the counts that are determined once October 1st enrollment is finalized. And that's based on not only average daily membership, but the special education counts, the free and reduced counts, which I know don't affect our district as much as it does other districts. All of those things contribute to the adequacy. And again, while that doesn't directly affect the level of the budget, it affects the level of the tax impact to the community.
Right. Mainly on the tax.
So it's all
impact.
part of the process. If it doesn't directly affect calculating the budget, it has a downstream effect in calculating tax impacts.
But if, on the decisions as to what's the whole idea of a donor state and, a donor community, that doesn't, is that all captured in the, like, grants and revenue side?
Yes.
So it's not actually, it lessens what we get, it doesn't require us to directly give?
Correct, and the definition, the definition of like donor receiver that you might have in your mind from many years ago is not the same donor receiver conversation that's taking place now. We can have a whole conversation about that, and maybe I can include that in the November meeting when we can talk about adequacy and talk about, by looking at the adequacy amounts, which districts would be considered donor communities if they were not able to keep a certain portion of their aid. But that's an entire conversation.
That doesn't affect the budget at all?
No, it doesn't affect the budget itself. It's like I
not
said,
like we have to potentially send money somewhere?
No.
Okay.
No.
So, good question. I was gonna ask that in another way. Thank you. But, so we're dealing with the budget side, so this is the cost side. Do we also deal with the revenue side?
We'll receive a revenue estimate,
Okay.
and the different, the offset between the two will drive the taxes and the tax impact.
And that's when we'll know more about how much Hollis Brookline will receive from the state, et cetera.
We'll get a report, so there's a large adequacy file that comes out, and Hollis and Brookline are, that information is included in a composite level, so there's a separate supplemental report that breaks out the co-op pieces of it, and then we'll very clearly know what all of our aid situations are for all of the districts. It's very discrete and specific, based very specifically on headcount.
And we'll be talking about that in November?
Yep, because
That'll be great.
Yep, yeah, that adequacy number, it's usually due out, it comes out like middle of the month, so hopefully between the 10th and the 15th of November, we'll have that information.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are we ready to move to the next topic?
Yeah, I
Do we
think,
have to take a vote or anything?
I
or-
don't think we
No?
have to take a vote in this case. I think we're just coming to a mutual decision that now is kind of not the time to issue preliminary guidance, and we'll hold and hopefully have better attendance in November and we'll obviously have more information. But I hope it was a good walkthrough for everyone, and it is just it's a process of just, constantly updating information. So, good, we'll leave it at that then.
So I'll tell the board the guidance is 7%?
You don't even get to vote, Mr. Solon.
I said
Stop
I'll tell the
causing
board,
trouble.
I get to vote on the board.
Stop causing trouble.
Shut his microphone.
Okay.
Done.
Okay, so I really do feel terrible about this one, that I honestly was on my way today and realized that I don't know how I neglected to give everybody a budget view for the SAU budget. So Melanie, I appreciate, we're not taking any more, we won't be taking motions, and so I understand if you have a commitment and need to go.
Yeah. But I just wanna hear a little bit about this.
Okay.
So, I'll wait a bit.
Tony, if you could pass those along. Raoul. I sent this to everybody late today, and so I understand that no one's had a chance to look at it. Yeah. Here's a set. Okay. Okay. So, it's a 7-page, they're numbered 1 to 7, it's a 7-pager, so.
Can I add one comment about this
Yeah.
draft? There was 2 small updates made. Tomorrow, the SAU Budget Committee will get a version of this and ask for feedback input, see if we're
I have
gonna
no
meet
idea what
again
I have anymore.
before anything final goes forward.
Okay.
But it's very similar.
You get
Okay.
one from me?
That's one set.
I gave you a
Thank you.
whole set,
Yeah, he's
I handed the
splitting 'em
sets
up.
off all together.
Oh, he split them up and.
Oh, no, I did the whole thing, it's one,
sorry.
3, 5, and 7. Here, wait, put them all together, how many do you need?
1,
I have
2, 3,
extra.
4.
I'm set.
Okay,
Keep it out. I think I'm gonna.
so
skip
the
out.
SAU,
I don't wanna leave in the middle of what you're saying, so.
Melanie, we can chat or
Yeah.
watch the view or, you know, whatever. That would
Watch
be great.
the view.
I will.
Not, but you know, the live stream.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Melanie.
Good evening.
Okay, so,
Okay, fine, I got every one of these.
the
All right.
SAU Budget Subcommittee is comprised of, the superintendent, the, assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction, the business administrator, assistant business administrator, Linda Sherwood, and a member of the finance or budget committee for each district, and a board member from each district, and a governing board member, the treasurer for, the governing board.
Does he show up to your meetings?
Mm-hmm,
Does he show up to your meetings?
yes,
Good.
he does. When he's late, I'm the one who can text him to find out why he's late to the Zoom call. But anyway, we did meet, and subsequent to the, I believe we were on draft 4 at the meeting, the budget went for discussion and review by the governing board, which yielded a draft 5. So at the time that draft 4 was put together, again, missing information because, you know, we didn't have information on insurance rates and things like that. So all that information kind of crystallized after we met. But the net result of, for the budget, which really is headcount driven for the staff of the business office. So I think is it 18 or 19? Oh, I always struggle with that.
I'm running through it in my head right now.
Yeah,
the
right.
question?
So
Give me a total number.
it's, I think under 20 people, at the business office. And, the budget proposal itself is broken out by, you know, superintendent and, related expenses, assistant superintendent expenses, and business office, HR, food service, technology. What else is there? Communications, compliance and communications, maintenance of the location itself, benefits for the team there. One of the things we discussed as a committee, when the budget, we might have been actually on draft 3, when we met as a committee, salary increases that were incorporated were 4%. As a committee, we ended up asking those to be reduced to 3.5. There's a merit pool that is available at the end of the year for, in addition to the salary increases, the superintendent to use her discretion to award other increases or stipends or bonuses at the end of the year. And we asked at that time for a reduction to be made. The budget subcommittee asked for a reduction to be made to equal prior year actuals. The governing board came back and made a slight adjustment to that, but maintained the 3.5% increase in, based on something close to CPI. And, yep, the NHRS rate for, and that 12.75, Lance, that's for everybody at the business office?
Correct. I think there
Okay.
was one person who just switched
Just
over.
was the higher. So there are two rates for insurance. Certified staff is at 19.23% that, as an employer, the district has to, report to this, send in and submit to the state, and 12.75% for other non-certified, staff or hourly staff. And I want to be clear that in everyone's understanding of those rates, that does not mean that 19% or 12.75% of someone's salary is going into an account for that individual. The insurance rates set up by NHRS include a payback, if you will, of some money that was taken out of the balance of the NHRS fund probably now close to 20 years ago. And there's been basically a 30-year mortgage or amortization of payback of that amount of money. So the rates are high, but I don't want anyone to be under the misunderstanding that, for any one employee in our district, 12.75% or over 19% is being put in an account specifically for that person's retirement. That is not how the New Hampshire retirement system works.
It's replacing core investment management.
Correct.
The,
Yes, that's a great way.
principle.
Yep, and just so that everyone understands, on the other side of things, every employee of the district who is eligible for a pension at retirement contributes 7% of their salary to their specific retirement. So there's 7% from every employee.
Is that minimum or is that maximum or
It's 7%.
minimum? That's it.
That's
Flat.
Max.
Flat.
That's
minimum,
it.
Flat.
Minimum max.
it. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So there were a couple, some.
Currently.
So because of, certifications and things like that, I did identify almost $10,000 worth of savings because of a rate change applied to one of the administrators. The change in the insurance rates and dental insurance rates are scheduled to go up by that over 4%. So where the budget stands right now is at 2.554 million. Lance, is this the view that I have? Is this the 2.55? Yes, it's the 2.554 view. And that's really all there is to it. There were no additional one-time expenditures or additional professional development or anything like that. So again, I want to offer my apologies for not having this information to you in advance of the meeting, for you to kind of take a look at some of the light items and things like that. And so I'll happily take any of your questions now, or if you just want to direct them to me, by email, I'm happy to address any of your concerns, or questions. I don't know, Lance, are we scheduled to meet again as a subcommittee?
We don't have a date set.
Okay. So there'll probably be one more, we meet by Zoom, and we'll review the final view of this budget and the presentation that'll go to the governing board's meeting and public hearing on December 10th. Is that the date? That's a Thursday usually.
I believe it is.
Oh, that's the 4th, the 11th.
I have it as the 11th, 6 to 9.
Okay, 12, 11. Okay, so I think it really is just really it's a pretty significant salary and benefit driven budget, so. And as a reminder,
The other thing that's shown on here, what it is relative to the adjusted,
I'm sorry,
does it list it relative, also list the adjusted, or the default, or whatever we're
yes,
calling
the
it?
last section to the right, it So it lists FY '27 adjusted.
Second from the right.
Right at the end, Tom.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at
Yeah.
it.
Adjusted
I'm
increase,
looking,
decrease over
my
budget.
recollection is they're very close.
Yes,
So it's 2554 versus
2538.
2538.
That 16,145 is the difference between the two.
okay. All right. Speaking of minutes, we can't take any motions. I'm not even sure how we technically adjourn at this point. Noting
Let's
that
just leave.
Melanie
Just
left at
kidding.
7:40, so the meetings, I guess the meeting technically ended when Melanie left, but, it was around 7:40, 7:40?
Yes.
Yes, around 7:40 when she left. SAU budget, school board update at this point. Oh, Lance, I had monthly results on there. I think you mentioned you were still working through some format changes and,
Yep. And
And-
I can touch on that if you'd like,
Okay.
quickly. So tweaking the way our revenue and expenses reports look to kind of make some of that transfer piece clear, a little more clear maybe, that we talked about last time, make it a little bit more user-friendly. One thing I did pull was the current expenses piece, just to kind of share that we're in a good spot. We're still dialing in revenues, but, you know, for reference of the budget, the balance that's not encumbered right now is 749,608. At this point last year was 633,000. The year prior, negative 212. The year prior, 487,000. So we feel like we're in a good spot in terms of expenses where we want to be, and looking at that historically, and then we can finalize that report. There had been a question last time for the year end. The one piece that wasn't updated was the fund balance retained. The board voted on that at their last meeting to retain $376,443, which was 1.5%. So the remainder, which is $773,785, will be returned to offset taxes.
the tax rate.
Tax rate,
Okay.
correct. So that's a quick update on those pieces. Should I keep going on anything else, or?
If you have something else to share, that would be
Well,
great.
I kind of want a general overview on the budget, which we've already touched upon, and, but kind of ties back to what we were talking about. Our preliminary numbers are all in. We're kind of scrubbing through the lines right now, so that's where like those personnel numbers exist. So we do have them. I think they need a once-over before they kind of go out to people, but they can start being used in things like the guidance. I think that'll be helpful. So those pieces are there, and we're combing through them. I imagine a pretty good version of that's going to exist next week. So we're close on that first go through, and then we can take a scalpel to it, or whatever cutting implement
Yep.
you want to choose for that analogy. So it's kind of where we are with that piece, and I wanted to make sure I shared that out. In terms of working with the DRA to get revenues in and update everything, board members will get tomorrow a copy of the DOE 25 and MS 25 to sign off on. That's all the districts have been approved at this point.
Have you had the rate setting call yet
Uh,
from the DRA?
No, I've been on the phone a lot with Kat. She's our
Mhm.
advisor, but we haven't done
Who
the
is,
official.
actually, who is the advisor for DRA?
Catherine D'Oliveira, if I'm pronouncing her last name correctly.
Okay, great. So that'll be obviously coming soon. So as soon as, because we do have a tax model that Tom Guillen and I use, as soon as as soon as you have those approved tax sheets, for each community, because we include Brookline in it as well.
Okay.
For Hollis and Brookline, that would be helpful. So
Sure.
whenever those are available, that would be great. Okay. I'm gonna go to Tony. Is that it, Lance?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Tony?
Advisory committee.
Yep.
Yeah, this week was the third meeting, and we're just starting to get organized. But I'll say the edict, based on the warrant article, is the advisory committee is to try to look and have a 10-year plan out, looking at those capital items, whether they should be bonded or some other mechanism. And I think it's a good idea, it's a good exercise, and I think there are things in the town that get neglected because they, they'll say the selectmen don't wanna raise the taxes so much to fix everything, then certain things fall off. And then get to a point where it's too late. You got, everything's an emergency, so they're gonna try to avoid those kinds of things. And resit in this because we're kinda odd, where we don't have a lot of capital equipment. And it may get collected someplace else, through some other, committees and the SAU, the primary school. And what we're looking at here is mostly an operating budget. But that being said, they want to have visualization to any items that are $10,000 or over. So you start looking at things like doors. Is that a capital item or not? However, I think once they understand a little bit more about how we work, then it will become a lot easier, because looking at the way we do things and the way we fund them through maintenance reserve funds, things like that, they don't show up as a capital item. They get paid for on a multi-year basis, like the roof, for instance. And our carrying cost for that is a pittance compared to maybe a bond. So I think the more they understand about us, the better off they'll be, because we don't have emergencies. We really don't. And we try to keep things consistent. I think it's really a well-run organization. But there are some things that I think, Tom, you asked for, is inputs and outputs. How to get information into them, how to get information back. And I raised that as a question. And I would be the first conduit. You tell me something, I tell them something. And then I can bring back to you the information that you requested. Also, the chair is Mark Cost. I don't know if people know Mark. Very nice guy. He's, I think, relatively new to the town, but he's done these sorts of things other places in larger towns. And so he's helping out as the chair involved with this. But he would come on a monthly basis or whatever we need, and come speak directly. You can give your inputs to him, and he can talk directly to questions, which he's offered to do.
And so, Tom, the school board has a representative on that committee as
Who's
well.
that?
Rob.
Oh, okay.
Mann.
My bigger question was the communication directly to the superintendent and business administrator.
Yep. So
How
one
does that occur?
Yep, so one of the things, like, there were some, requests for information, to better understand, like, the apportionment formula and things like that, which I provided because I've been working with the apportionment formula for a really long time. I'm happy to go talk to the committee, if they'd like to understand it, but, and I firmly believe that any, calculation of, what's attributable to each community should not be coming from this committee. The apportionment formula, the components of it are, if we deal with this, apportionment as a matter of course, that responsibility, I feel, needs to belong with the business office, so that the superintendent does have insight into what's being requested and the information that's being shared for exactly that reason.
So are they
So
going
what
to-
I,
is
but
the
what I
committee
did
going
have,
to?
but what I did have, and I forwarded, were the 4, the debt schedule that I used to develop the chart that I put forward. And I had, the CIP from the last budget, and I I provided that information. And I think, Tony, you mentioned that, you know, he was looking for more information related to the budget, but we just don't have it yet, because Hollis School District doesn't have it, we don't have it, we're just starting the process. Mark serves on the budget committee for Hollis, so he's aware of the timelines and everything else, and it's,
I think
should
there's
be
gonna-
clear at this point that we're just getting started with the process, so. I feel like he definitely has something to work with, and, you can break the apportionment formula down into two very simple parts, because long-term capital projects are based on equalized value. You can pull the last apportionment report that was developed by the state to see exactly what those amounts are, but they're always in arrears as well. But it's about a 70-30 split, and ADM is always in the range of, you know, 55-45. That's about where we are. Maybe it's 56, maybe at 44, but we're around 55-45. So for
We
purposes
are
of
back there again?
yeah,
'Cause we-
I mean,
we
I haven't
had-
looked at it for this year, but that's
That's-
We,
that's what-
we hit either a 50-50 or a 49-51 one year.
we did.
That was a long time ago, though.
No,
Not
yeah, it was
that long
it was a
ago.
couple years ago. I think I have.
It was just pre-COVID.
It was, let's
Which
see.
is now a long
The
time ago.
89 so it was 54.7 Hollis, 45.3 Brookline. That's
Oh,
what we
last
used
year.
for the last budget. And it was 68.3. It moved from 69. It was 68.3 Hollis, 31.7 Brookline for the 2024 EV. So, because it's all always swinging in arrears. So, it yielded an apportionment distribution of pretty much 55-45 in total.
Okay.
And then tax effort, after all the state taxes, we were estimating at like 56-44. So the 55-45 and the 70-30, I think that gives them enough information to kind of work with. And, you know, 5 years from now, I don't know what the apportionment formula is going to be. We just kind of, 10 years from now, well, we know what it's going to be for the next 5 years. 10 years from now, I don't know. So you just kind of keep going out with what we have.
So the action should be that once a year, check with Darlene to see what she thinks.
They're meeting twice a month. So, my next meeting, I think, is the November 3rd, and I'll be bringing them the information that we're talking about, the apportionment schedule, that sort of thing. And it looks like from our prediction or forecasting of something that would be a bond effort is zero. I mean, there really isn't anything there.
Nothing new, and that's when, you know, as, you know, Rob as the board member should be, you know, speaking with, through, whether it's through Holly or directly to Gina, about, you know, what those initiatives might be, if there's ever gonna be an enrollment committee, if there's any kind of, you know, longer term plan. I would imagine, it's just, you know, my 2 cents, going past the 5 years is gonna be really hard for us to put like the 6 to 10 year view out there. It would really be so.
And historically, better or worse, the school system is reactive, not proactive.
Mm-hmm.
So you live with a couple of years of what may turn out to be unmanageable pain,
Mm-hmm.
at which point they start the effort. You get the funding to do it. By the time you get the funding to do it and you do it, there's a reasonable risk that the effect of not having that resource will have become a self-limiting thing to growth. And then you spend the money and you build it, and initially you don't need it. And then people look at that and say, why did we do this? And you don't really reap the benefits to it until you've had the resource in place for 3 to 5 years, at which point the capabilities of the system, one would hope, recovers, and again, you now have a system that is doing really well for students, and the people start responding, and it goes in, so it's a very difficult process because of the funding mechanism.
Yeah, I agree 100%. If you
But-
build
but
it, they
the-
will come.
But the net result is that, and this is a problem that we had in our conversation with the Brookline, town, because Brookline does, use the CIP to, what's the term, is it, what they charge builders?
Impact fees.
Impact, they charge impact fees, and they wanted to know what was planned for, expansion to deal with projected growth. And the answer that the town got was that, well, we don't really do hypothesizing, because anytime we do a plan, there's an immediate reaction from the community saying, you're planning on spending money. It's very difficult to do it as a hypothetical, the way the town does. So it has, unfortunately, a self-fulfilling prophecy that we don't plan well in terms of growth. If the growth occurs, we react and respond to it. But the usual response is dealing with an overcrowding situation and seeing if it resolves itself, because if your schools are overcrowded, people do things to reduce the population themselves.
Yep. And you have to
I
look
mean,
at
I
too
have
is
to go.
the turnover in
We're gonna lose the non-quorum.
I'm
We're
sorry.
we're so below form. I don't even know what to do right now. I'm like, do I have to take a motion? What
Just-
happens if you don't?
just-
Did the
okay.
meeting just end? I don't even know.
Just real quickly on the school board side, I think that I
What-
need to cut you
mhm.
short. What Lance, talked about from the retained fund balance was a fairly lengthy discussion, but the original suggestion was to use 2%. And what we ended up going with was the 1.5% for a couple of reasons. One is, historically, we haven't been using a lot. Number two is 1.5% puts us at approximately level funding for what we have. Last year we were at about $350,000, it's $376,443. So we're maintaining that, and it gives us more money to give back. We had, a big part of why we had that retained fund balance is the ongoing work in our student services area, to now have staffing that we don't have to contract out for anywhere near as many specialists. And the cost of specialists through contract is 2 to 3 times of that of having them on staff, because of the rates you pay through contracting services for those specialists. And they've done really well at creating the services in district, which is the least restrictive environment for our students, as well as it benefiting the general population through some of the interactions and the skill sets that it's bringing to our overall staff capabilities. So those things net together gave us comfort with going with a level funding amount and giving more money back to the town, because they had funded, like we always do with a budget, we have to fund for worst case.
Yep.
We don't have an option. But if we're not hitting worst case, let's take that excess and return it, because that's, in my opinion, and I think much of the board, the fairest way to treat our taxpayers.
Should we schedule an overview of the student services program sometime between now and March?
So one of the things I wanted to mention was that Lauren DeGennaro did do a full overview at the last board meeting, and the board packet that I gave everyone a link to included her presentation, and if you watch the live stream on YouTube,
Okay.
her presentation starts at 30 minutes. I did ask her for some, and Lance for some additional information with regard to Medicaid funding, and Lauren did offer to come at some point and give us an overview of the new Medicaid platform, which I think would be really interesting to just kind of know about. So,
Okay.
depending on where special education takes us in the budget, I think we did an overview with her, I feel like we did it last year. But since we did recently do it, unless everybody really wants it and she has that other overview available and she's willing to come speak on the Medicaid platform, I think our time is well spent, kind of understanding that Medicaid piece a little bit, so.
Good.
Okay, I'm not trying to rush anybody, but I honestly have never been faced with a situation where I didn't have a quorum present to end a meeting. So,
We don't have a quorum now?
Tom is not a voting member
No, when Melanie
anymore.
left, you lost the quorum.
So I think the meeting ended
And
when,
unfortunately, Brian apparently wasn't able to join us.
apparently not, so,
The meeting ended,
At
I put it at
7:40?
7:40, okay. And I don't even think I can really take a motion, so it'll end when we all leave and
Sneak out the door.
the meeting. But I appreciate everyone, spending the additional time, and I think we'll be just better on track in November, and,
Do we have the date for the November
we
meeting?
do. I don't recall what it is, and I didn't have a chance to review the minutes, so I
It will
will.
be the week, maybe a Monday prior to Thanksgiving, is that more or less what?
We spoke about it, I think in September, and I will get that information.
I think we
back
put
to
it on
everybody.
for Wednesday, the 19th.
Wednesday the 19th,
Okay.
thank you.
That's what I have it in my calendar as, but.
Perfect. It's
Perfect.
Wednesday the 19th.
yes.
Thank you,
And
Lance, I appreciate
I have
that.
that as well.
Great. Wednesday the 19th. Okay.
Thank you very much.
And I-
Go ahead.
I think we're done. I don't know.
I thought
think
it was
we're
a good
finished.
meeting, though.
Well, great. Appreciate
You
that.
don't have to cry. so-
No, I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. Just kind of how the day's gone today. So, Tom, if you'd like to give us an overview, Raul, you're excused since we won't even have
Okay.
technically a meeting in session anymore.
My
Thank you.
my only comment was that I think things went well and discussions were appropriate and useful. I really liked the degree to which you were able to articulate the methodology for coming up with guidance. I think that I'm hoping that going forward that we can get the information collated and consolidated perhaps earlier so that it's around and what I don't know, because I haven't been involved with it long enough, is to what degree it's just a question of identifying who has what responsibilities versus articulating what the information needed is. So is it that, do we need to communicate better to the business office what's needed? Or does someone know what's needed but it's not sure who's putting it together? So, and part of this is that your predecessor, I think, had so much involvement in the process that it became internalized tribal knowledge that has not necessarily been recorded and documented in a way that it's transferable. So we to whatever degree we can recreate that in a published environment, so that because you've got this calendar, but I don't know to what degree the calendar and the prerequisites are defined. Does that help? I'm wondering, in terms of having a quorum, is this an unusual event?
Yes.
Okay.
This has never happened
Did we know
before.
we were gonna be so close to not having a quorum?
No.
Okay. So I would.
I thought I was gonna be a clear quorum,
yeah,
and that's not how things work.
I would impress upon my fellow budget committee members to perhaps be clearer in their abilities and perhaps more honest in their availabilities.
Yes, that would be helpful, especially at this time of year, so.
Present
that-
company accepted.
I think we're finished.
Raoul, leave.
I think we're finished.
You want me to stop it?
Please do.
Okay.